Hello chess friends and welcome to Azadov's chess channel and welcome to my series playing d4. So yesterday I showed you this very nice line in this Queen's Gambit accepted with black's try to create this early flank attack. Today I will show you a line in which black tries to clear the situation in the center and tries to play against you while you as white will have this isolated pawn situation. So when you have this isolated pawn situation, I want you to keep two things in mind. So first of all, if you're playing with this isolated pawn, you should always try to advance it. And while having this isolated pawn, well, this isolated pawn always creates this dynamic pawn structure in the center because you want to be mobile with this isolated pawn. So that's why you should play with your pieces towards the center. So you should place your rooks maybe on the d file or maybe on the e file. So here you want to have a more compact position. So in this critical moment I'll show you what's all about. So let's see now this line in this Queen's Gambit accepted. So the first game that I wanted to show you, it was played by Danzola and Nedeljko Kilečević. Here Danzola with the white pieces, and here we have after d4, c4, d takes c4, and now after knight on f3, we have knight on f6 by black, again e6, e3, e6, bishop takes on c4, and now again this c5 idea, which I've explained in my yesterday's video, and we have castling. So now, well, black decides to clear the situation in the center already. So you see, knight takes on d4 again is not good because, well, black can play again e5 and simplify the position by trading the queens on the d file. So here we have e takes d4, and now bishop on e7, knight on c3, and here a6. As I said, I don't recommend you to play the move a4 because then after maybe castling and maybe something as bishop on g5, your opponent can play then knight on c6, and then after that the knight on b4, and here after that one of this knight, maybe this f6 knight or this b4 knight, he can place it on the square d5 and create this blockade system against your isolated pawn. So as I said, our idea in this sort of lines is to somehow try to push this pawn on d5. You have to calculate it in every move while playing with this isolated pawn. You have to ask yourself, can I do it in this position? So of course here instead of a4 I recommended to move a3. So here after knight on c6, again bishop on g5, castling, and now queen on d3. You see with the preparation, of course our pawn here on d4 is twice attacked by the knight and the queen, so of course queen on e2 doesn't work, and this line with queen on e2 leads to take black will probably take on d4, and it leads to a very complex line which I don't recommend you. So here after b5, here you have this very nice square, bishop on a2, and this bishop is now on a very nice diagonal, and of course we are trying to play the move d5. Keep that in mind always with your isolated pawn. And now here after bishop on b7, here rook on d1 was played. So you see the white is really trying to play compact with his rook, so of course he gets more central with all of his pieces, and that's the idea while having this situation. So we have an isolated pawn, but it's really a dynamic pawn structure. You see this mobility, this possible mobility of this d4 pawn, it's really annoying for black. So of course we want to place this rook behind this pawn on the d file and try maybe the discovered attack on the queen. So here black tried rook on c8, and again we playing with the same idea to play more centralized with our pieces, rook on e1. So here black tried the move b4, and here white played knight on a4, b takes a3, and now b takes a3. And you see now this weaknesses here on this queen side. This perfectly nice squares for our knight. We have also a perfect development. We have developed all of our pieces, and again we are trying again to calculate somehow maybe and try to move d5. So of course now it's not possible so far, but we'll prepare it. Here black tried queen on a5, getting out of this d file here, of course, because d5 will be prepared. Now white took out this knight on f6, bishop takes on f6. If g takes f6, well, this would really here open this diagonal, and black would be forced to weaken even more his king side with moves as f5. So here instead of g takes f6, bishop takes on f6, but now we deflected the bishop from the defense of the c5 square, and now we have a very nice square for a knight on c5 with this attack on the bishop. So here black tried rook on c7, and here knight on b7 was played, rook takes on b7, and of course now we have already all prepared. Now comes the move d5. So finally, we get what we wanted. We want to advance this isolated pawn. We have a dynamic pawn structure, and you see now how important it is that we have centralized our pieces. So this is now a very nice attack. All of the pieces are on perfectly on best squares, and they're perfectly placed. Now black has to react, and he took out e takes d5, and now bishop takes on d5 with this pinch situation on the rook. And here black tried rook on b6, and now comes a very nice move, bishop takes on f7. If rook takes on f7, then you get rook on e8, you'll be forced to get with your rook, and then you have queen on c4, and this will be really a losing game for black. So here, after bishop takes on f7, we have king on f7, again queen on c4 by white, king on g6, and now very nice rook on d5. You see perfect activity by white's pieces. We have queen on e1, knight takes on e1, and here rook on e8, and here queen on d3. So in this position, well, like 10 moves were after that played, but here white managed to win this game very easily. And I really just wanted to show you this principle in the middle game when you have this isolated pawn and how you should advance it. So let's see now another example of this clearance in the center. So here we have again a similar position. So this is a game. It was played by Josef Šili against Stanislav Gavlikovsky, and here Josef Šili with the white pieces. Again, we have played the similar line, but here instead of rook on d1, he played here the rook on c1, and here after that rook on e1. Again with the same idea, to play more centralized. Well, with this rooks and with this pieces. Again we have this queen on d3 idea, and now we of course again are preparing to play the move d5. So here black tried knight on d5 with the simplification of the position, of course, getting out of this pin here and attacking this bishop twice. So here white tried knight on e4, protecting this bishop twice, and you see moves as h6 and f6 would really weaken again even more this king after castling. So you see black has left with this move knight from f6 on d5. He has left the defense of this h7 pawn. So here after knight takes on g5, we have knight from e takes on g5, and here g6, of course, protecting here the h7, because white already created this checkmate threat. So here we have rook on c5. Now we occupying simply this dark squares. You see, while giving up the bishop on e7, well, again black created many weaknesses on dark squares. So of course we want to occupy them with our heavy pieces, with the rooks, or maybe with our knights. Of course here is also the possibility after that to play maybe knight on e5. So here we have knight from c to e7, and here knight on e4, knight on f5, and here queen on d2. king on g7, and here after trade of rooks, rook on c1, and queen on d8, and now again you see we are occupying with our knight now the c5, and the bishop is attacked, so black has to react, and he played here queen on e7. Now rook on e1. We of course want to have our rook here on the same file where the queen is. Of course we are trying the discovered attack on the queen, and then I'm again pointing you out, we are trying, we have always to calculate if we can move the pawn towards d5. So of course now that's not possible, but if it's possible, you should at least consider the option to do that. So here after rook on d8, white played rook bishop on b1, and he tries here this positional threat here with this attack on the knight. So of course he would be pleased if we could get rid of this knight on f5. Then after that put maybe our other knight here on this very nice square e5, and basically these two knights on e5 and c5, well, they would be really hard to attack because you see we don't have anymore this dark square bishop, which is also the main protector of dark square. So here black tried knight on d6, and here we have knight on g5. So we are really attacking here now this dark squares around the king. Knight on c4 was played, and here queen on c1. You see, we have here also the possibilities even to play some tactical motifs with this demolition of a pawn structure around the king, with maybe some knight sacrifices or rook sacrifices even on e6 and f7. So here black tried rook on c8, and we have h4. Again with the idea maybe to play h5 and even create more weaknesses around the king. So here black tried knight on f6, and we have b3. We want to get rid of this knight which has occupied this fourth rank. So here knight on b6 was played by black, and we have here queen on f4. Now all of the pieces by white are really on the most active squares. You see, I'm pointing again out, we have now really attacked here this e6, f7. The bishop is good placed, the rook is also on a very nice file, and now maybe we have possibilities in particular moment, of course, to play the move d5 as planned. So here knight on d5 was played, queen on e5. You see, again black is simply trying well, to stop the advance of this d5 pawn. Here we have a rook sacrifice, rook takes on c5, d takes c5, and here we have queen on c5. Although we didn't manage to push the d5, it was really black's problem, and you see he only played on this blockade system, which is basically good, but we now white gained too much space here around the king, and here he had this tactical shot, queen takes on e6. Because of his piece activity, we have here this very nice tactical motifs. Of course, f takes e6 doesn't work because you simply take with the knight and play on the fork and on the king and the queen, and it would lead into a winning endgame. So we have here queen on c7, queen on e5, again trying to trade the queens, queen on d7, and now bishop on e4, queen on g4, g3, now h6, and now bishop on f3. And the funny thing is that the queen is almost trapped here. It doesn't have good squares, and here is the position where black resigned. So you see, as I said, the d5 here didn't work, but it was our main strategical idea, and black tried to play against it. But meanwhile, while doing it, he really weakened his dark squares on the 5th and the 6th rank, and the king was endangered all the time through the game. So let's see now another example. Here we have a very nice game. It was played by Kiril Georgiev against Velislav Kukov, and this guy Velislav Kukov, he is a strong intermaster, and I've played many games against him because he was playing on one chess site, and you could challenge him, and I had a really nice score against him, although he was maybe plus 10 or something, but we played like, I don't know, maybe 100 games, and I think I at least won like 45 games or something. So I really had fun while playing against him, and he was playing always this aggressive style. But in this game against Kiril Georgiev, well, he lost effectively, because here after d5, here we have knight on f3. This was simply a different move order, but with the same idea. After c4, d takes c4, again e3, e6, bishop takes on c4, c5, castling, and now c takes d4. Again, e takes d4, knight on c6, knight on c3, bishop on e7, and bishop on g5, castling. And here black didn't even try to play here maybe the move a6, b5. He tried to develop somehow else the bishop here on c8, and we have here again queen on d2. We are liberating this d1 square for our rook. We want to, of course, to place the rook and try again this advance on of the d5 pawn. So here b6, and you see rook on d1, again with the same strategical idea to get your pieces more centralized while having this dynamic center, dynamic pawn structure in the center. So bishop on b7, and now queen on f4. Here Kukov tried knight on h5, attacking the queen, but now we have queen on h4. Of course, black took here again this bishop on g5, but here white didn't care now for this bishop. Now he played queen on h5, and now black has to react because the bishop is twice attacked. So here he played bishop on f6, and now we have again, I'm pointing out this idea to play d5. This is now possible because we get rid of this defender. The knight was in a couple moves before on the square f6. Now it's perfectly fine to play on this d5, and you see with this rook on the d file we have a very nice discovered attack on the queen. So I hope you realize these main strategical ideas while having this isolated pawn. Here was played e takes d5, and now bishop takes on d5, with possibilities maybe here to play bishop takes on f7 or bishop takes on c6 with the discovered attack on the queen. So here black tried queen on e7, but you see he doesn't have good diagonals, so that's why here was possible to play rook on e1, again developing a rook with the tempo on the queen. Queen on b4 was played, and now knight on e4. You see now this is now perfect coordination by white's pieces. The knight can maybe go here on b5, again creating mating threats on h7, and here rook on d8 was played, and now knight on g5, bishop takes on g5, here knight takes on g5, and here h6, of course, preventing here this checkmate. But now Kiril Georgiev finds a very nice move. Bishop takes on f7, king on h8, and now queen on g6. In this position black resigned, because after maybe h takes g5, then you get queen on h5 checkmate, and if you take the bishop on f7, then you get checkmate here on h7. So this is this line in which well, black tries here this clearance in the center by the move c takes d4, and this is an important line. It might seem to you that you're weak with this isolated pawn, but you see it's really not so. You should know just know how to play with your isolated pawn. You get your pieces centralized and try to advance the d5 pawn, and of course you want to play on this fast development and with this advantage while occupying this maybe c, d and e file with your rooks. So thank you for watching. Meanwhile, you can watch my yesterday's video of this Queen's Gambit accepted with this b5 flank attack idea by black, and you can also watch my hyper accelerated Dragon Sicilian defense videos if you want to have a nice repertoire against e4. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.